Welcome, and let's get right into learning how to play Balatro. We're going to start off by assuming you know nothing about poker. If you do, there are timestamps on the video to allow you to jump ahead, though there might be a bit of information in the hand section that you need to know. It's not vital you know how to play poker to play this game, but the basics are helpful. With that said, let's just jump right in. We're going to start off with the basics of the deck. The deck is comprised of 4 suits: spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds. And within the suits are 13 cards, which add up to a 52 card deck. You can see that there's 4 copies of each card right here, and that will be important later. I want to point out specifically the king, queen, and jack of each suit, as these are face cards. And retaining all this information right now is not super important, but there's mechanics within the game that need to know this information, just like there's mechanics that care about aces and other certain numbers in the deck. But you don't need to remember all this, because you can always just come right back here to the view deck and pull this information up whenever you want, which is great, because this game's also a deck builder, so as you go on, you're going to be manipulating your deck. And remembering to check your deck and how it's changed is huge, because how you play and what choices you make are going to be dependent on what your deck is like. And trying to remember everything about your deck at all times without being able or without coming back here is not going to happen very well, so remember to check frequently the state of your deck. Next up is how the scoring works. In order to play the game, you need to score so many points per round. In order to do that, you get a base score based off the hand you play, with chips added based off the cards you play, with a little other magic thrown in that we'll get into later. Most of the cards are worth what they say on them, with the face cards being worth 10, and aces being worth 11. As for hands, we'll start off on the bottom here, and explain how the score works. You'll also notice on the left side there's levels, and well, with time, there's mechanics to level things up, and the higher ranked hands here, which are currently worth more, might be outclassed by a lower ranked higher level hand, but we won't worry about that now. Instead, we'll just focus on simple stuff. For example, the high card here, it's just when you just have a single card that plays, nothing else matches up with it. In this example, it's an ace. And how this would score, since the ace is worth 11, the 11 would be added to the 5 here. The blue box is the chip value of everything. The high card gives you 5 default, then you add the cards that score, which is just the high card in this, which becomes 16, and then it's multiplied by the right side, or the mult. And you just get 16 points for playing an ace. Given the first score you're aiming for is 300, not very impressive. But later on in the game, it might be very impressive, but you'll see. Next up is a pair. In this case, the example is 2 9s. You'd score both of those, they'd be worth 18 base. The 18 would be added to 10 to make 28. It'd be multiplied by 2 to make 56. Already we're getting a lot higher. I'm going to stop the math from here on out, because I think you get the idea. The chips from the cards get added here, and then they're multiplied by the right side. We have 2 pair, and this time you have 4 scoring cards. It's the 2 and 2, just 2 of the planes below. And you can see again, we've crawled a little higher with 20 times 2 as the base. Next up is 3 of a kind, 3 of the same number, and continue to crawl up there. Next up is a straight, and that is just 5 cards in a row. And there's a little caveat with this one. The ace is both a high and a low card here. It will score 11 either way, but you can do a straight that's ace, king, queen, jack, 10, or ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, you cannot do queen, king, ace, 2, 3, or any combination like that. But the ace is just a little bit special with a straight, so try to keep that in mind. Next up is the flush. This is just 5 cards that share a same suit. Pretty straightforward, but these hands are starting to get a little harder to get, because if you recall within the deck, there is just 13 cards that meet this, so you need to get 5 out of 13 cards to match this. While previously, yes, there was just 4 cards, but you had 4 within 13 different subgroups, and I'll stop getting into statistics, that is not very important. But as we get higher up here, it's just going to get a little harder and then a lot harder to get these hands, at least with the base deck. For the full house, you have 3 of a kind and a pair, and you can see these continue just to get a lot higher. 4 of a kind, and not getting into too much statistics, but there is literally just 4 copies of a single card in the deck, which means you have to find all of those cards, and this is getting quite difficult to do. And then a straight flush, this is 5 cards in a row of the same suit, and there is only 1 copy of each of those cards to get in a row. So this is a very difficult hand to do with the base deck, and that is why it is sitting at the very top. Before we get into anything, I just want to talk about what you're seeing in general right now. The left side, you can see the red run info button, which we were just in. And this is a great tool to see all those poker hands that we just went through, as well as what levels your hand are, which will matter later. Next to that is the blue hands number, which we're playing the blue deck, which gives us an extra hand. By default, your number of hands is 4, which that's how many scoring cards that you can play each round and get points for. Next to that is the discards, which is a red 3, which is the default number. And that's how many times you can discard up to 5 cards in a given round in order to try to make your hands better. Below that is our money. It's just 4 right now, not impressive, but money is great. But we're not going to worry about that right now. We'll worry about that when we get to the phase where you actually use money. The other stuff in the middle that you're looking at are your challenges for the ante. The ante is just the floors of most other roguelikes. As we go higher, challenges will get greater. On the left side is the small blind, the weakest little one. In this round, it's 300. If we beat it, we'll get some money and access to the shop. You see below that, you skip blind button. We're not really going to worry about that right now. I'm going to deem that an advanced technique. Something that is useful sometimes, but if you skip it, you don't get any of the rewards of the blind, and risk-reward is a big thing to go into, and not really within the basics of how to play. In the middle is the big blind, same as the small blind, but bigger. Just a higher score that you need to get. Plays exactly the same. On the right, however, is the boss of the round. And those will change every time you play. There's a bunch of them, and they're just kind of randomly selected. You're going to want to pay attention to these as you're playing the rounds. You kind of want to build around them if you can, or kind of worry about them if you can. This one that I have up right now, it debuffs cards that you played previously in the round. And what debuff means is they no longer count for chip points or suit or any other bonuses going on like that. However, they still count as their number, so they can still be played to trigger hand points, which is an important thing. But this means that if you play a lot of your deck before going into this, you're not going to get very many points to fight up against this boss. So you want to be quite efficient when playing against this boss if you can. Though efficiency is the name of the game in general with this. And I'll get into why as we go forward. As mentioned before, we're now just trying to score a good hand to clear the round. At the end of the round, you'll earn base money for clearing the round, plus money for each hand you have remaining. Here, you're going to want to try to chase a straight or higher. I personally was chasing a flush. As you can see, my discards are down a little bit. But I was not getting it. I got a straight instead. And I already know this straight's not going to be enough to get me to 300, but that's fine. I should be able to clear this with 2 plays. I have discard left to clean up my hand, so we're just going to advance with that. Would have liked the extra dollar, but it's not a big deal. I've got the pair of 10s. I only need 60 more, so we're just going to discard the lower ones, and this is a fine chance to show you. I can see I only have 2 8s left in my deck, and only 2 jacks and 2 10s, or I've got the pair of 10s. So, we're down on a lot of things. We'll just get rid of this too, and hope we can hit something else to go with the 10s. We got the jacks to go with the 10s, and this will score just enough that we can finish the round. get there. So, at the end of the round, we can see here, we got the 3 for clearing it, 3 for here. We're going to get 6 more money, and that will give us 10, which then we will go to the shop. The shop is where we spend our money. This is where I'll break down the rest of the mechanics in the game, and there's quite a bit here. I can't really go into deep detail on all of them, because it would be a really long segment then, and I want to kind of just keep it to the basics. Up on the top here, you by default can buy jokers, which are the cards that are going to end up going into the top left here, which will be limited by default to 5. They can do a ton of effects. Some do simple effects, like just add to your chips when you score a hand, which is the blue box over here, or add to your mult, which is the red box over here, or it can do a lot of other weird effects. Like the one I have here, for example, just re-triggers all play cards in the final hand of round, which is when you have 1 hand left. The jokers are going to be what you need to explore and figure out and play with in order to go really far in the game, though exploring all the mechanics are how you truly win the game. They all work together in a beautifully designed system that is just great. Aside from jokers, there are tarot cards, and they have a ton of different effects. 22 of them to be precise. The ones in the shop will end up being sent to the consumable area, which you can hold 2 of, and they can be used during your gameplay, or hand plays, and do a lot of interesting things. The effects that tarot cards can do include, but are not limited to, cards that allow you to destroy cards, change card values, change card suits, and give bonuses to your cards, such as making them worth more chips or mult, which can be very powerful. For example, the one I have here enhances 2 selected cards to bonus cards, which gives them 30 extra chips, which can be quite strong. After the tarot cards are the planet cards, which I don't currently have any here. But those are the cards that level up your hands. And those cards, I should note, as you level up the lower ranking hands, those do not power up as fast as the higher ranking hands. However, the lower ranking hands are far easier to play, so it's often worth chasing a lower mid-ranking hand than the really best hands, because you really don't want to bank a run on getting a 4 of a kind all the time, at least not early on. Down on the bottom left, you have the vouchers. These are just passive bonuses that go hide in your backpack. You don't have to worry about how many you collect. You can have as many as you want as long as they show up. They'll show up after you beat each boss. They'll change. This one in particular just allows playing cards to be purchased from the shop, and those are just cards you add to your deck. Finally, on the bottom right, we are offered packs, and boy, are these fun. I'll start with the Arcana pack, which we have an example of, and they'll come in different flavors, but ultimately they're just going to give you random tarot cards that you'll have to play right away. They'll also draw a hand with you to play them, and they're just a great way to modify your deck and start shaping it to be far more reliable. Another type of pack is the Buffoon pack. It'll just give you a choice of some random jokers, and none of these packs do you have to take them, but jokers are powerful, so you'll often want to take a look at them to see if you can improve them unless you already have a really good build going. Another pack not featured is the Celestial pack, which will give you a choice of planets, which again is how you level up your hands. So while you have to play your choice right away, there's no good reason to have to save a planet anyway. So while you aren't guaranteed to get one that helps, it's typically useful to level up your hands, so these are pretty solid packs to go after. There's another pack called the Spectral pack, which these ones are often high risk, high reward with really weird effects going on. These things have such things as switch all the cards that it drew into the same card type or suit, and have another negative effect happen on top of it. These things can ruin your run or make your run, or really a lot of random effects. I have a lot of fun with them, but do carefully read any of the cards before you use them. If you do not and just kind of click them, you will probably destroy your run. Finally, I do have an example of this one. There is the Standard pack. This one sounds boring on paper, and this one is a little trickier to use than it seems. but it draws a couple playing cards to add to your deck. What it doesn't specifically say that you'll have to figure out later is these playing cards can have various bonuses on them, like how the tarot cards can add bonuses. Beyond that, this game supports multiple bonuses. There's different tiers of bonuses on the cards, and they will replace each other if they're on the same tier. But the cards found in the standard pack can have multiple different tiers of bonuses on there, and it's the only way to get all of those bonuses at the same time. So, if you're lucky enough to get those cards all stacked together, that can be really powerful. And if you don't know what you're doing anyway, like building towards, it can be a great way to guide your deck. Get a really strong, powerful bonus card, and all of a sudden, that's what you're working towards. Because that card, if it shows up, can be amazing. With other cards, you can start making copies of it. And yeah. So, I played ahead because now that you know all the basics of the mechanics, I wanted to show you a real hand being played with a little bit of mechanics bouncing around with each other, especially with the jokers. So, I haven't used any of my discards, and the first joker I have is the banner, which gives me 100 or 40 chips for each remaining discard. 3 times 40 is 120. So we're going to get 9 chips for the 3s. 39 plus 120 is 159 chips is what this side's going to end up being. The other joker I got is the half joker, which just gives me 20 mult if played hand contains 3 or fewer cards. 3 of a kind is 3 or fewer cards. So this is going to end up getting 20 added to it for 23. So you'll see, even though without my jokers it would just be 39 times 3, not that impressive. As soon as I play this hand, we're going to get all that added together and have a really big score because of the jokers. As we start adding all the other systems on top of each other, our scores are going to quickly keep getting bigger and bigger. And the whole point is just to, make the numbers go up. And with that, you have the very basics of Balatro. There's a ton more things to learn to get better at this game, and that will be covered with a future Trips and Tricks video. I just wanted to get a video out there for what this game was and how it plays. If you think this game looks fun at all, and you're worried about anything like not knowing poker, or maybe you won't be good at it, don't worry too much. I know I'm not really the best person to say this, because I kind of grew up in a household obsessed with poker, but it's really not a big deal if you don't know it. You'll pick it up eventually, and when it all clicks, I think you'll just have a lot of fun with it. The game is, at its core, a brilliant deck builder that just has a solid poker framing. And you really don't need to learn how to become an expert at poker to play this game at all. You just need to learn how to be decent at deck builders. And once everything clicks, I'm pretty confident you're going to join the rest of us at becoming addicted at this game. It truly is a special game, worthy of all the praise it's been getting. So, if you found all this, helpful, just go out and get it. Join us in being addicted. It really is that fun.